Hello friends, it's Kayla. Welcome to the episode in the series that I don't want to film. This is the stack of books that unexpectedly takes up the bulk of the books on my TBR shelf, the books that I want to read one day, but I have yet to. And I'm calling it general fiction, this is basically anything that doesn't fit into the other categories of videos that I've done. So we'll see like some romance, some historical fiction, some literary stuff, just like general, realistic stories. At this point in the series, I know you're thinking I own way too many books. And yes, that is a fact. Regardless of how I bought them, where I bought them, discounted, whatever, I still own too many books. But I am actively interested in the majority of things that I have told you about so far. This stack, a lot of it really blends together in my mind. This is the genre, if you want to call it a genre, that I read the least of every year. The other groupings can be justified by I read a lot of thrillers, mysteries, nonfiction, sci-fi, fantasy, but general fiction doesn't take up a bulk of my reading, yet I buy it the most. And I think that's because I don't know what I like in general fiction. I'm not sure that I even like general fiction. In the past, I most definitely talked about how I don't just want to read about normal people living their normal lives. But over the years, and especially broadening the things that I'm picking up, it is interesting to hear from other perspectives and situations outside of your own, and just like learning about humanity. So I'm always thinking to myself, if I were to pick up a story like this, I want it to be something unique to a certain person, whether it's their culture impacting what they're dealing with in the story, them navigating a unique set of circumstances, and what may still be mundane activities, but they're all different, they're all unique. So it's just like there's so many of them that I never really know what to gravitate towards, because someone has recommended all of these to me. And yeah, there's 80. So I'm also way more likely to pick up a book that sounds like it's gonna be a bummer, because that's just my taste in reading. So I don't know, a lot of these just don't sound like really upbeat stories, and it may seem like I'm only picking up stories that sound like these characters are going through tough stuff. Okay, Kayla, shut up and get into it. The first one is Exit West by Mohsin Hamid. This is about Nadia and Saeed and their love story in a country on the brink of civil war. This is Jonah's Gourdvine by Zora Neale Hurston, which is about faith and tolerance and a man and his congregation. Have enjoyed Zora Neale Hurston in the past. I have had Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro recommended to me countless times, and I've had it for so long. I still don't totally know what it's about. It starts on a boarding school with a group of characters, and then they re-meet up as adults and are reflecting on their growing up together. Next up is Woman at Point Zero by Nawal El-Saadawi, which is a book about a woman and cruelty against women. It starts out in a Cairo prison cell. She ends up in prostitution, and it's her life experience. Next, by Richard Van Camp, I have The Lesser Blessed, which is about a young Native man in the age of AIDS, disillusionment with Catholicism, and a growing world consciousness. It's about him and making a new friendship and kind of confronting his past. I have We Need New Names by Violet Bulawayo, which is about a young girl moving from Zimbabwe to America and assimilation and leaving behind the comforts of home. Next up, I have The Gone Dead by Chanel Benz. I just love this cover and the colors especially. This is set in the American South, and it's about a woman who goes back to her hometown. Her father left her a house, and she has to grapple with like discovering more about her past that she has forgotten. Famously, I have A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara on my shelves, which everyone is just desperately waiting for me to read. I don't know when it's gonna happen, and I don't know the plot of it. I just know it's apparently the saddest, most devastating thing I'll ever read, and people make entire videos out of like just having their lives ruined by this book. I know it's about a man who's experienced trauma, and that's that. We've got Two Trees Make a Forest, another one of my favorite covers, by Jessica J. Lee. And this is about a woman who goes back to her ancestral homeland of Taiwan and becomes closer to her grandfather, or at least his memory. He has passed and left her all of these letters, and I think it's going to spark all of the experiences that she has, the places that she goes, the people that she interacts with. Another cover I really love is She Would Be King by Way Too More, which is set in a West African village as well as a plantation in Virginia. Oh, and The Blue Mountains of Jamaica. It's a historical fiction. We have 3 different characters who all meet up in Monrovia, and they use their gifts to protect the weak and vulnerable. Then I have All the Names They Used for God by Anjali Sachdeva. And unfortunately, I put this in the wrong video because clearly here it says stories. I thought they were all tied together, but perhaps they're not. But what I know is that in all of these stories, the characters are looking, let me just read it. They are in pursuit of the sublime, find themselves looking to divinity, but also to science, nature, psychology, and industry, forgetting that their new logical deities are no more trustworthy than the tempestuous gods of the past. So just pretend I put that in my other video. I have His Only Wife by Peace Adzo Mehdi. This is set in Ghana, and it's about a woman in a new marriage navigating the expectations on her. I think that's kind of a trend with a lot of books that I pick up. It's just like a woman thrown into a circumstance that she needs to navigate and also like break out of. There are certain injustices and taboos in this world that she's entered, and she's working through it all. Next, I have The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. This is about a young Black girl mocked by other children for the way that she looks, and it's about our obsession with beauty and conformity. Then I have Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows by Bali Kaur Joswell, which is not a collection of stories. This is a novel about a woman named Nikki who puts on a creative writing course, and the people who attend it, she ends up sharing this book of erotic stories, or one of the women who are students shares it with the class, and she feels this eagerness, having separated herself a little bit from her traditional Sikh community, to kind of liberate these women. And there are a lot of learnings to happen, I think, for her and everyone in the book. Next, I have Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed, and this is the story of a Black woman who is babysitting a white child and gets accused of kidnapping her. And I think it's what goes on between them and the mother of that child and all of the dynamics from there. I have The Mars Room by Rachel Kushner, which I've been wanting to read for so long. I've picked it up in 2 different editions, and this is about a woman in prison. Apparently it's both funny and tragic. Next up, I have The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. We're following a woman named Cora, and she is basically on the run this entire book, escaping being enslaved. It says it's an adventure tale and a meditation on the history we all share. Next up, I've got, actually, oh my gosh, 3 books from Thomas King that I have yet to read. This one is called The Back of the Turtle, and it's about a man saving a young girl. This might also be a little bit speculative too, because there's not like many people left, and I don't know what this encounter really means for them. This one is called Indians on Vacation. This is one of the few like kind of road trip travel stories that I'm interested in. We go on one couple's holiday trip to Prague and beyond. And lastly, I have Truth in Bright Water, which the very short blurb just talks about how they're 2 cousins and they spend a summer together. A book that was sent to me is called The Final Revival of Opal and Nev, that I know a lot of people enjoyed. It's by Donnie Walton, and this is a historical music-based story where these characters are in a band together in the 70s. Next up, I have The Night Diary by Veera Hiranandani. Had this one for a while. Oh, this one is actually middle grade, I think, because we're following a 12-year-old, so let's take a little break in between my adult books and talk about a couple middle grades I have. Our main character's name is Nisha. It's 1947. Her mom is Muslim, her father is Hindu, and it's no longer safe for them to stay in Pakistan, so they end up relocating and moving somewhere else. This one is When Life Gives You Mangoes by Corinne Getton. In this, we have another 12-year-old. Clara's life has just been changed by a hurricane. She's meeting a new friend, I think grappling with what she's been through, having memories. And then I have My Life as an Ice Cream Sandwich by Evie Zaboy. This is an author I really enjoy. That is set in 1984, and our main character, Ebony Grace. Her grandfather is one of the first Black engineers to integrate NASA in the 1960s, and I think it's her connecting with him, learning about everything that he went through and accomplished at NASA. I do have some YA, but I'm going to save those for the end. Next, I've got A Heart in the Body and the World by Deb Coletti. This is about like marathon running. We have Annabelle, her cross-country running gains media attention. She's followed in a van by like her grandfather or something, and it's, I don't know what the story's about, but I've heard it's really good. I have Our Homesick Songs by Emma Hooper. Beautiful cover. This is set in Newfoundland. It's about an affair. It's about a family and their fight to desperately keep hope, memory, and love alive. Rabbits for Food by Benny Kirschenbaum is about a woman's experience being hospitalized and her talking about all of the lunatics that she was in with. The First Day of Spring by Nancy Tucker, I think I wrongly thought was like a mystery thriller, but it's more a contemporary story about a woman and the terrible things she went through as a child, and now as an adult she's reflecting on those things. She has a child of her own and her past is catching back up with her. Indian Horse by Richard Wagamese is next. In this we follow Saul, a northern Ojibwe, and the horrors of residential schools, as well as his triumphs on the hockey rink. I have The Sellout by Paul Beatty, which is like an award-winning one that I picked up because people told me it was a little bit weird. And it's about a character reinstating slavery and segregating the local high school, which lands him in front of the Supreme Court. Apparently it's very funny. I have a couple Meg Wolitzer books. One of these I'm definitely going to read by the end of the year because I think this is an author I need to do my Third Time's a Charm series with. I have The 10-Year Nap and I have Sleepwalking. This is about 3 college students and their obsession with death. And this is also about a group of friends, but it's like 10 years in the future where their lives are revolving around their marriage and their children, and they pictured very different existences for themselves, and I don't know, discussing that, dealing with that, changing their circumstances. I don't know. I have Less by Andrew Sean Greer, which has also been recommended to me and is a big award-winning book. And this is about an around the world in 80 days type of story where a man puts thousands of miles between him and the plight he refuses to face. Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff has one of my favorite covers. And I know that this follows a couple and their 20-some year long marriage and just like everything that they go through together. Did You Ever Have a Family by Bill Clegg has also been recommended to me a lot. It's about a family. We're following a woman who drives across the country, I think abandons her family, and then what's left behind is a community who has to like rebuild and come together in new ways. I Love You But I've Chosen Darkness by Claire Vaye Watkins is also about a mother abandoning her family. She's reckoning with marriage, work, sex, and motherhood, and goes to hang out in the desert where she grew up and think about, I don't know, what she wants out of life. My TBR shelf also features East Coast Girls by Carrie Clutter. We have this group of childhood friends who used to get together every summer. One summer something terrible happened. They've been seeing each other for 12 years and now they're reuniting. I have The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, and I think this is, of all these books, the one that people have been telling me to read the most. I still feel like I barely know what it is. It's set in 1945. A book dealer's son mourns the loss of his mother and finds solace in a mysterious book called The Shadow of the Wind. And then he discovers that every copy of the book is being destroyed. I think I thought that that one was fantastical, and now I think it's not, but maybe it is. You let me know. Okay, next up, I have The King's Men, which I don't know that I'll ever read, by Nora Sakovic, which is the 3rd book in the, what is this called? The All for the Game series that starts with the Foxhole Court. I hate this series, but there's something about it that makes me come back to it, which is why I picked up this one, but I don't know now. I also have The Last Kiss by Laura Lynn Page, which has been here for so long. This is the sequel to a new adult romance that I hated, but was so intrigued by the ending that I picked up the sequel. But now I can't remember a single plot point of the first book, so I'm debating, like, should I just read both books in tandem, or should I forget that that ever happened? And then I have Layla by Colleen Hoover, which I think is a new adult romance, but it also has to do with a ghost? Question mark. Layla's behavior takes a bizarre turn, so Leeds takes solace in Willow, a guest at a B&B, but one of them maybe is a ghost. Will I ever read that? I don't know. Okay, and then I have my Gabriel Garcia Marquez collection, 100 Years of Solitude and Love in the Time of Cholera, which maybe would be better categorized differently than this video, but I'm really just waiting for the day that I'm sure these will show up in some type of video, some type of secret TBR where I have a reason to read them besides just general intrigue. And then more embarrassingly, I have my Kurt Vonnegut collection which I read, I know that I read 2 of these as a teen, but I can't remember which ones. I don't know what any of them are about or like which individual ones. I mean, obviously I could read the synopsis of all of them, but I just mean like, I can't really distinguish just by looking at them which is which stories I've already experienced. I think I DNF'd 1 or 2. I just love these editions so much. We have Cat's Cradle, The Sirens of Titan, Jailbird, God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater. This is actually a different edition. Anyway, Galapagos, and Breakfast of Champions, which I feel like I read. I just love Slaughterhouse-Five so much, and in my mind, I'm a Kurt Vonnegut fan. But I've just been holding on to these for so long. And I just don't really know what to do with them at this point. If I should read them, and in what order, and when, for what reason. Anyway, let's move on. I'm gonna do some ones that I think have a little bit of mystery vibes. I have The Lost Causes of Bleak Creek by Rhett and Link from Good Mythical Morning. This is like based on their childhood. It's a small town story, and apparently there's some like thriller or horror related things, but I just feel like it's more so a story of friendship. They have to rescue a friend together, they make a film. I don't know when I'll read that. I also have The Saturday Night Ghost Club by Craig Davidson, which again like looks like a thriller or horror, but I think it's more of a friendship story. These kids join a club all about urban myths, and now in the future our main character is examining the fragility of mind and body, and I think like going through his own memories. I don't really know. I also have I'm Still Alive. We're getting into YA now. I think this is the transition moment. I Am Still Alive by Kate Alice Marshall. I've picked up so many books like this. It's about like a girl alone in the woods. Her father has abandoned her in the woods and she wants to survive. Or no, wait, her father has died in the woods and she has to survive and she wants revenge. And now my giant stack of YA contemporary. There's not much pulling me to any of these besides having read from most of these authors before, and there are so many of them, and this video is going to be so long that I'm not going to get into the synopsis of all of these. I'm just going to show you, and I'm going to see if you have any feelings about me and these books. If you need me to read something or you need me to unhaul something, I'm really leaving this in your hands. This was a cover by Between Before and After by Maureen Doyle McCary. Something about siblings, something about life and death, and writing stories. I have Breathing Underwater by Sophie Hardcastle. I am actually keeping this one for reasons. This is about twins set on the ocean. Love the cover. Love, Hate, and Other Filters by Samira Ahmed. Under Rose-Tainted Skies by Louise Gornal. Full Disclosure by Cameron Garrett. You Say It First by Katie Cotugno. In Search of Us by Ava Delara. Final Draft by Riley Redgate. I've got The Distance from Me to You by Marina Gessner. This one's about hiking and survival, so I still kind of want to hold on to this one. Darius Great Is Not Okay by Adib Karam. This one I've heard is really good too, and even for people who don't love YA typically, they've enjoyed this. I feel like I might keep that one. Not So Pure and Simple by Lamar Giles. Oh, it's about a class rendition of The Wizard of Oz. Where did this come from? Hold Still by Nina LaCour. Color Me In by Natasha Diaz. Some Places More Than Others by Renee Watson. This is a pretty new one I picked up, but I just feel like I've gotten everything that I want from Renee Watson. I've read like all of her books. I might keep The Marvelous by Claire Kahn because this is like a competition. 16s locked together in a mansion. Notes from My Captivity, also like the nature-based ones. A Trip of the Lifetime to the Siberian Wilderness. I've heard really good things about I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter by Erica L. Sanchez, so I think I'm gonna hold on to this one. Sunkissed by Casey West, I just can't imagine getting rid of. It has to do with camping. Oh, I'm also keeping The Stars and the Blackness Between Us by Janata Petrus. This is another kind of romance vibe. Okay, I lied. I can't ditch all of these. The Lost Girls of Camp Forevermore by Kim Fu. I also like, I can't keep all of these camping teen books. I have Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson, which was my bad for picking up. This doesn't really seem like my type of book, but I do like Tiffany D. Jackson, and it was so cheap at the thrift store. One of the only ones here that I bought full price is Last Girls by Demetra Brodsky. So like, I want to keep it just for that, but so many people have told me that this is not gonna be for me. Though it takes place in the wilderness. And it's about like training for doomsday. One of the oldest books on this entire TBR is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. I don't even like John Green's books. Like, I have never really liked John Green's books. But there was something calling to me with this one 5 years ago. But apparently hasn't been calling to me enough to actually read it. And I don't know the plot. A fugitive billionaire? Will I like this? Be honest. Next I have How to Make Friends with the Dark by Kathleen Glasgow. When I just like wanted really dark, intense contemporary, this is when I picked that up, and then I realized like I could find that in adult books. This one I picked up recently and I am still interested in. The Sea is Salt and So Am I by Cassandra Hart. This is about siblings. They've been through something, painful secrets, testing old loyalties. One of the only arcs I've ever been sent and didn't get to is We Are the Wildcats by Siobhan Vivian, which I still feel bad about, so that's probably why I'm holding on to it. But like at this point, no one cares. Like the publisher isn't looking out for my review. I have Invisible Summer by Hannah Moskowitz. Not the Girls You're Looking For, another Amina May Safi. I have Switchback by Danica Stone, another outdoor adventure story. Here's the thing. I feel like I just can't find adult wilderness survival stories that aren't like dystopian or horror, or sound like they're about reconnecting with like your ex-husband from 5 years ago and you have 17 children and you left your job as a lawyer and you're trying to re-find yourself as a woman. Like, that's not what I want to read. I just want to read survival in the woods. And for some reason I only see that in YA. So please, can you recommend me something if you know about something that isn't some big existential exploration about like what you're living for, and it's not about the exhaustions of adulthood and parenting. It's just about like surviving in the woods. Anyway, this is called Switchback. This is about getting lost in the Canadian wilderness. Oh, and that was the last one. Okay, great. Those are all of the fiction on my TBR that I physically own. Thank you very much for watching. The series is now over. So if you have any thoughts on anything, I will be going back and checking all of the comments of all of the videos. If you have any thoughts on any of the books and what I need to get rid of, what I need to keep, what I need to prioritize. I just went through a lot. You just learned every single book that I own, except for some that I'm reserving for specific videos. That I just have in like a box that I kind of forgot about. There's not that many of them, and you'll see them mentioned soon and read soon, so I don't really think of them as like TBR books. These are ones that like I don't really have much of a plan for exactly the day that I'm gonna read them all. Anyway, this video is long enough. The series is long enough. It's over. Thank you so much for watching and letting me know all of your thoughts in the comments.